I woke up as Ethan, the protagonist who was condemned by the entire internet in a campus novel. When I opened my eyes, I was standing in front of the school's bulletin board plastered with big character posters denouncing me, accusing me of maliciously reporting and causing the outstanding student Dylan to lose his only guaranteed spot for graduate school. And my girlfriend Sophia was there, pointing at me with a group of people. She told me in grief and anger, "Ethan, how could you be so vicious? Is it just because you're jealous that Dylan is better than you?" I hadn't had time to process the memory when the barrage of comments explained everything for me. Classic plot. It's that department heartthrob who plagiarized his own thesis, afraid of being found out. So he sabotaged the male lead's computer in advance, used the male lead's ID to report himself, and then played the victim to frame the male lead. Exactly. The heroine believed it and led the bullying of the male lead, forcing him to drop out. In the end, the heartthrob went abroad and crashed, and only then did she learn the truth and chase the male lead to Los Angeles, where he was working to beg for forgiveness. But the male lead clearly had a backup of the surveillance footage showing the heartthrob entering his dorm. Why didn't he say anything? I'm dying of suspense. I looked at the righteously indignant Sophia and the angry crowd behind her and smiled. You want me to wait until I drop out to make you regret it? I pulled out my phone, called Mr. Lewis the counselor, and put on speaker. Mr. Lewis, about the complaint regarding graduate admissions. I think this is serious. I've already sent the surveillance footage of Senior Dylan entering my dorm and accessing my computer, along with the source file links showing his plagiarism, to your DR. Marcus's department email addresses. To be fair, I also CC'd the school's discipline committee and the education department's public inboxes. Ethan, what did you just say? Sophia's voice trembled slightly. She seemed unable to believe what she had heard. What I said, didn't you hear everything? I put my phone away, my gaze calmly sweeping over her before settling on Dylan beside her. Dylan, you're with me on this, right? Dylan's lips trembled, his eyes darting away, completely unable to meet mine. That guilty look of his was the best proof. The people around weren't fools. Whispers began to rise. Surveillance footage? For real. They even sent it to the Discipline Inspection Commission and the Education Department? Damn, this has blown up, hasn't it? If what Ethan said is true, then this Dylan is disgusting. He reported himself to frame someone else. Terrifying when you think about it. He usually looks broad-browed and big-eyed. Who would have thought? In just that short minute, the tide of public opinion had shifted subtly. Sophia looked at Dylan's deathly pale face, then at my calm expression, and it seemed her mind finally started to turn. Her complexion shifted from shock to bewilderment, then from bewilderment to a hint of panic. No, that's impossible. Dylan isn't that kind of person. Ethan, are you mistaken about something? She was still trying to struggle, still trying to defend that perfect image she had in her heart. Am I mistaken? The security footage will explain everything. I couldn't be bothered to argue with her any longer, and turned to leave this den of trouble. Ethan, stop. Dylan finally came to his senses. He stepped forward, trying to block me, forcing a look of anger and innocence onto his face. This is slander. Por slander. On what basis do you say I went into your dorm? That video must be fake. He began to act like a cornered dog. Yes, it must be fake. Sophia, as if clutching at a lifeline, immediately chimed in. With AI face-swapping technology so advanced now, what's hard about faking a video? Ethan, I never thought you'd stoop to such despicable means to frame Dylan. Hearing that, I stopped, turned around, and smiled. Smiled very happily. Here it comes, the classic heroine mindlessly defending the male supporting character. I really can't. It's come to this, and she's still speaking up for a stranger. Feeling sorry for the original owner. Ending up with a thing like this is truly 8 generations of bad luck. The Damaku floated by at the right moment, accurately voicing my thoughts. Sophia, do you know? I looked at her and said word by word, what makes you most pathetic isn't that you're stupid, but that you're stupid and don't realize it. You always think you're standing on the moral high ground, waving the flag of righteousness, But in reality, you're just the most useful knife in someone else's hand. It's used up, you can throw it away anytime. After saying that, I ignored her face going deathly pale, pushed through the crowd, and walked away. Behind me, Dylan was roaring in a fury, while Sophia stood there stunned. I didn't look back. The opening act of this play was over. Next, it was just a matter of waiting for the school authorities to take the stage. Back in the dorm, my roommate Jake was pacing anxiously. When he saw me, he rushed over. "Ethan, are you okay? I just heard Sophia brought a bunch of people to corner you. Those bastards didn't lay a hand on you, did they?" Jake was the original owner's only friend at this school, straight-talking and loyal. In the original owner's memories, he was the only one who believed in his innocence from start to finish. "I'm Phoenix." I patted his shoulder, a warmth passing through me. "Don't worry, if anything's supposed to happen, it won't be me." Sure enough, barely had I sat down in the dorm when Mr. Lewis, the counselor, called again. This time his tone was noticeably heavier than before. "Ethan, come to my office right now. Dr. Marcus is here too." "Okay, Mr. Lewis." I hung up and said to Jake, "Jake, do me a favor. Take that micro camera off my desk and put it away. Don't let anyone else touch it." Jake paused for a moment, then suddenly understood. "Damn, Ethan, you were prepared. All right, go ahead. Don't worry. I'll keep an eye on that thing like a hawk." I nodded and got up to go to the office. I pushed the door open. Dr. Marcus and Mr. Lewis were both seated inside, their expressions serious. Dr. Marcus was a man in his 50s, wearing glasses and looking very dignified. "Ethan, have a seat." Dr. Marcus gestured to the chair opposite. I pulled out a chair and sat down, looking perfectly composed. "The things you sent to our email, we've all reviewed." Dr. Marcus pushed up his glasses, his gaze sharp as he looked at me. "The video is very clear, but we need to verify its authenticity. Also, why did you install a camera in the dormitory?" This was a question I had expected. I answered calmly. "Dr. Marcus, Mr. Lewis, the reason I installed the camera is simple. Last month our dorm was broken into, and I lost a watch worth $200. It wasn't expensive, but it made me feel unsettled. Reporting it to the police yielded no results, so I bought a miniature camera and put it on my desk pointing at the door, just in case for peace of mind. My roommate Jake can attest to this. As for the authenticity of the video, I can vouch for it with my character. There is not a shred of falsification. The camera has a built-in timestamp that cannot be altered. Besides the video, I'm also providing direct evidence of Dylan's plagiarism. The source file link and PDF of that foreign journal paper. Comparing the two articles, I believe any teacher with academic sense can see it. The similarity exceeds 70%, especially in the core arguments and data models, which are almost verbatim translations. My tone was neither servile nor arrogant, and my points were presented clearly. Dr. Marcus and Mr. Lewis exchanged a glance, each seeing a flash of surprise in the other's eyes. They probably didn't expect that I, who usually seemed somewhat introverted and quiet, could act so calm and methodical at this moment. We have already submitted the video and thesis materials to the school's technical department and academic committee for authentication. Mr. Lewis said, "Before the results come out, we want you to stay calm and refrain from making any public statements to prevent the situation from escalating further." "I understand, Mr. Lewis." I nodded. The reason I acted the way I did today was completely out of desperation. The bulletin boards were plastered with big character posters. My girlfriend publicly accused me, with people watching, and if I didn't speak up for myself, I'd probably be forced to withdraw from school by tomorrow. There was a hint of grievance in my words, but more than that was a firm insistence on defending my case. Dr. Marcus was silent for a moment, then said, "The school will not wrong a good person, nor will it let a bad person go unpunished. Go back and wait for news." "Thank you, Dr. Marcus." "Thank you, Mr. Lewis." I stood up, bowed, and turned to leave the office. I knew my first move was already secure. Next, it was up to Dylan to respond. Sure enough, that afternoon, a new post appeared on the campus forum. The poster was a die-hard supporter of Dylan, tearfully describing in the thread how kind and innocent Dylan was, and how devastated and crushed he was upon learning he had been slandered. The post also included several photos of Dylan receiving 4 drips in the hospital, captioned, "The innocent will be vindicated, but rumors are fiercer than tigers. The senior has already fallen ill under the pressure." Immediately after, a so-called computer was also posted, analyzing from a technical perspective that the video I provided showed signs of editing and compositing. As soon as the post appeared, it instantly drew another wave of sympathy and support. "I told you Dylan is such a good person. There's no way he would do something like that. Poor Dylan, being wronged so horribly by villains. Ethan is just vicious. He's trying to drive someone to death." And among all this, my ex-girlfriend, Sophia, once again played the role of the vanguard. She was almost the first to rush down to the dormitory building and called me. I looked at the 2 words Sophia on the phone screen, a cold smile tugging at the corner of my mouth, and I hung up immediately. Soon the phone rang again, persistently. I hung up again, then added her number to the blacklist. The world quieted down. Good call blocking her. A woman like that shouldn't be given any chance to speak. Nice. I love how decisive the male lead is. She's probably going to be furious. Ha ha ha. The comment stream erupted in celebration. It didn't take long before Jake's call came through. "Ethan, Sophie is downstairs acting like a lunatic, insisting on seeing you. Do you want to go down?" "Don't see her." My answer was short and blunt. "Tell her to get lost." "Got it." Jake hung up. I walked to the window, drew back a corner of the curtain, and sure enough saw Sophia standing below with a face full of anxiety and anger. She kept trying to call me. When she couldn't get through, she stamped her foot in fury. Soon Jake appeared before her, probably conveying what I had said. I watched Sophia's expression shift in an instant from anxious to incredulous, then to raging fury. She was pointing at the dormitory building, shouting something at Jake with intense emotion. Unfortunately, it was too far away to hear clearly. But it didn't matter. I could guess. It was nothing more than her accusing me of being so heartless, asking why I had to go so far, why I couldn't cherish past feelings, and other such rubbish. As expected, before long my foreign social apps started blowing up with notifications. They were all from her. "Ethan, get down here. Explain yourself clearly. Why did you block me? Are you feeling guilty? Dylan is in a hospital because of you. Are you satisfied? How can your heart be so cruel? Our relationship of over 2 years means nothing to you? You had to destroy him out of jealousy to feel content." Seeing these twisted accusations, I don't even feel like replying. I open her chat window and leisurely type a line. "First, we're breaking up. From a moment you and your people blocked me and publicly accused me. Second, whether Dylan is alive or dead is none of my business. He brought this on himself. It's his own fault. Third, don't bring up those 2 laughable years of our relationship. A woman who, when her boyfriend was slandered, blindly sided with outsiders and stabbed her own boyfriend in the back has no right to talk to me about relationships. Fourth, and finally, don't bother me again. Otherwise, I won't hesitate to hand over to the school's discipline committee the screenshots of how you led the class group and campus bulletin platform to stir up public opinion, personally insult me, and carry out online bullying. Take care of yourself." After sending those messages, I didn't hesitate to click delete friend. The whole operation flowed like water. Downstairs, Sophia stared at her phone screen, her whole body frozen. She probably didn't expect me to reply, and even less expected my response to be so cold and resolute. The anger on her face faded, replaced by a look of bewilderment and pallor. She stood where she was like a statue stripped of its soul, allowing the pointing fingers and strange gazes around her to engulf her. I knew my words were like an awl, driving hard into that self-righteous glass heart of hers. The sound of breaking should be quite pleasing to the ear. Sophia walked away in a daze. But Dylan's counterattack had only just begun. His combo of playing the victim and using technical debunking did stir up some ripples among the people who didn't know the truth. Many people began to waver, thinking the situation might really be turning around. Dylan struck while the iron was hot and accepted an online interview from the school reporter. In the interview, he wept and spoke passionately, casting himself as a perfect victim maliciously slandered by jealous rivals. He claimed his family was poor, that being recommended for graduate study was his only chance to change his fate, and that I, out of jealousy over his recommendation, had meticulously fabricated evidence to frame him. He even implied that my family was well off, that I didn't care about a recommended admission slot, and that ruining him was only to satisfy my own dark impulses. Once that interview was published, it again ignited campus public opinion. His stirring inflamed resentment toward the rich and sympathy for the weak to the extreme. For a while, I was once again labeled that bullying, vicious, rich second generation. I told you it's so hard for a kid from a poor family to get ahead. Ethan's family is so rich. Why does he have to pick on a poor student? You can know a person's face, but not their heart. So disgusting. Jake looked at the comments on the forum. So angry, he almost smashed his phone. These idiots. Has their brain been eaten by dogs? They believe whatever that Dylan says. He looked at me, worry all over his face. Ethan, what do we do now? That bastard's a great actor. The public opinion is really against us. But I wasn't worried at all. I even had the mood to start game. Don't worry, Jake. I operated the character while saying lightly, let him jump. The higher he jumps, the harder he'll fall. Public opinion is like a bubble. It looks impressive, but it pops with a poke. What really decides victory or defeat has never been who shouts the loudest, but who holds the hard evidence. All of Dylan's performances now rest on one premise, that my video was fabricated. Once that foundation is broken, all his previous acts of playing the victim and his lies will turn into slaps he's smacking against his own face. And each slap will be louder than the last. He thinks getting some so-called expert friend to post a technical analysis will muddy the waters? Too naive. The school's tech department experts aren't just dead weight. Moreover, he seemed to have forgotten one thing. What I submitted to the school was not just the video. There was also the link to the source file of his plagiarized paper. That thing is even more ironclad than video evidence. Indisputable. The more he jumps for joy now, the more swollen his face will be once the school's official assessment comes out. Ethan, do you have any backup plan? Jake, seeing the confident look on my face, asked curiously. I smiled, but didn't answer directly. Just wait and enjoy the show. For the next 2 days, I completely switched into a mode of ears closed to everything outside. No browsing forums, no replying on foreign social apps, just classes, eating, gaming, and sleeping every day. No matter how turbulent things got outside, I remained unmoved. This calm attitude, on the contrary, made some people start to have doubts. As for Dylan, he grew increasingly impatient. He kept posting updates of his tragic condition on various social platforms. Sometimes a photo of him studying late at night, sometimes a picture of needles in the back of his hand, sometimes a gratitude post thanking friends for their support. The acting was so superb, it could rival an Oscar-winning actor. Sophia also became his devoted follower, trailing him everywhere, fretting over his welfare, looking every bit the protector of the world's best senior. The two of them, one performing and the other fawning, put on a melodrama that was wildly successful. Until the third day, the opportunity I'd been waiting for finally arrived. On the afternoon of the third day, Jake suddenly burst into the dorm holding his phone, his face bright with excitement. Ethan, look. That foreign original author Dylan plagiarized has spoken out. I perked up and immediately moved closer. On Jake's phone screen was a screenshot from a foreign academic forum. A Chinese-American scholar named David Chung posted a sharply worded statement in both Chinese and English. In the statement, he explicitly pointed out that Dylan from our university's computer science department, in one of his award-winning papers, had severely plagiarized a paper that he had published in an international journal 3 years earlier. Professor David Chung detailed the overlapping parts of the two papers, including the core algorithm, data charts, and experimental conclusions, and attached comparative screenshots. He also stated that he had never authorized anyone to use his research results, and that he would reserve the right to pursue legal responsibility for such egregious academic misconduct. Most importantly, at the end of the statement, he made a point of thanking an anonymous Chinese student, saying it was this student who alerted him by email and made him aware that his work had been stolen. The moment this statement came out, it detonated like a heavy bomb and set the entire school abuzz. What the hell? It's confirmed. The original author came out to confirm it. What does Dylan have left to say now? His face must be completely busted. That anonymous Chinese student must be Ethan, right? Amazing. He actually got in touch with the original author. The people who defended Dylan before, where are you? Come out and take a walk. Does your face hurt? At this moment, the campus forum's tide of opinion completely, utterly, overwhelmingly turned against me. The posts that had sympathized with Dylan and insulted me were instantly drowned out by furious denunciations. Dylan and his supporters became like rats crossing the street, utterly disgraced. I looked at that statement and smiled in satisfaction. That's right, that anonymous Chinese student was me. When I sent the evidence to the school, I also sent an email to Professor David Chung. I explained the situation in detail and attached a comparison file of the two papers. I know that for a rigorous scholar, the one thing he cannot tolerate is having his life's work stolen. He will certainly stand up to defend his rights, and his speaking out will be the final straw that breaks Dylan. This is my backup plan. A killer blow he could never imagine and could not refute. By now, Dylan was probably cowering in some corner, trembling. The web of lies he had painstakingly woven was mercilessly torn to shreds by me. The good student with excellent character persona he had painstakingly cultivated collapsed overnight. And my so-called ex-girlfriend, Sophia, wasn't doing any better. The higher she had leapt before, the harder she fell now. She became the biggest laughingstock in the whole school. That Sophia, truly blind in the eyes and blind in the heart. For the sake of a plagiarist, she fell out with her own boyfriend. I'm dying laughing. Didn't she pride herself on being a crusader for justice? Now that justice has arrived, why is she silent? I don't even need to look to imagine her expression right now. It must be quite the spectacle. Ding dong. My phone buzzed. A friend request. I tapped it open and saw it was from Sophia. Her profile picture had been changed to a patch of gray, and her display name was "Now Sorry." In the request message, there were only 3 characters. I was wrong. I looked at those 3 characters and expressionlessly tapped ignore. Only saying it's wrong now? Too late. The original author's outcry became the straw that broke the camel's back. The school's response was very swift. That same evening, the school's official website posted a sternly worded notice. The notice contained 3 main points. First, after appraisal by the school's technical department, the surveillance footage I submitted was verified as authentic, with no signs of fabrication or editing. Second, after joint appraisal by the University Academic Committee and external experts, Dylan's award-winning paper was found to contain serious plagiarism. The facts are clear and the evidence conclusive. Third, in view of Dylan's malicious framing of others, serious academic misconduct, and multiple other violations, with extremely heinous circumstances and very bad consequences, the university has decided, effective immediately, to suspend him from all courses and to establish a special investigation team to carry out further inquiry and handling. Once the announcement was issued, there was no further dispute. Dylan was thoroughly nailed to the pillar of shame. Those who had previously waved flags and cheered for him all deleted posts or issued apologies, fearing any association with this academic fraud. As for me, I transformed from a vicious, rich second generation into a lone, brave soul who fears no power and exposes the corruption. Ethan is amazing. This counterattack is practically textbook level. Good thing he held on, otherwise that petty person would have succeeded. The school should give Ethan a bravery award. Looking at these comments, I felt nothing inside. Everything I did wasn't for any hollow fame, but to reclaim the justice that rightfully belonged to the original owner, and to make those who hurt him pay the price they deserve. The next morning, Mr. Lewis called me, his tone warm and friendly. Ethan, everything's clear now. The school will definitely give you a satisfactory explanation. You've been wronged. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. I trust the school, I replied politely. About Dylan, the investigation team wants to ask you about some more details. Are you available this morning? If you have time, Mr. Lewis. All right. Then come to conference room 302 in the administration building at 10 o'clock. After hanging up, I tidied up briefly and got ready to go out. Jake leaned in, winking and grinning. Ethan, you're a celebrity at our school now. I heard Dylan's recommendation slot was revoked, and the department is considering giving the slot to you. Is that so? I smiled faintly. I don't value this recommended admission spot as much as the original owner did. With my current abilities and outlook, there are many paths ahead. I don't have to limit myself to doing a graduate degree in the country. Still, if it were taken from Dylan, that would feel pretty good. I went to administrative building 302 and pushed the door open. There were 3 people seated in the meeting room. Besides Mr. Lewis, there was Dr. Marcus, and the other was MS. Elena from the school's disciplinary committee, all wearing very serious expressions. When they saw me enter, they all stood up. Ethan, please have a seat. This time's treatment was night and day compared to the last time in the counselor's office. After I sat down, Ms. Elena got straight to the point. Ethan, the reason we called you in this time is mainly to double-check whether, aside from the video and the paper as evidence, you have any other leads about Dylan's misconduct? I looked at her and pondered for a moment. In my mind, the barrage of comments reappeared. Spill it. Tell everyone about Dylan taking money to ghostwrite papers and cheat on exams. Right? And about him using his student council position to swindle financial aid meant for needy students. Expose it all. Make sure he never recovers. Watching these barrage comments, I understood everything. It seems this Dylan really is a treasure boy. I looked at the expectant expressions of the 3 teachers before me and decided to add fuel to the fire. Mr. Lewis, Dr. Marcus, Ms. Elena. Actually, besides this incident, I've heard some other rumors about Dylan before. I deliberately put on a somewhat hesitant expression, but feel free to speak. Ms. Elena encouraged. I heard that Dylan once used his position in the student council to fix things for other students, like awards and honors, and even slots for scholarships. Of course, these are just rumors. I don't have direct evidence. I only spoke half of it, but left it at that. I believe that with Ms. Elena's acuity, she would surely hear the implication. Sure enough, Ms. Elena and Dr. Marcus exchanged a look, their expressions growing even graver. Scholarship. Dr. Marcus frowned tightly. This is not a trivial matter. Ethan, thank you for the lead. We'll begin the investigation immediately, Ms. Elena said sternly. I nodded, saying nothing more. I knew that with this lead, Dylan's fate would only be worse than in the original storyline. Stepping out of the conference room, the sunlight was just right. I took a deep breath of fresh air and felt utterly refreshed. Just as I reached the bottom of the stairs, I saw the one person I least wanted to see. Sophia. She was standing under a tree not far away, looking much more haggard, her eyes swollen and red, obviously had been crying. When she saw me, she immediately ran over and stood in front of me. Ethan, her voice was hoarse with a hint of pleading, can we talk? There's nothing to talk about between us. I stepped around her, ready to leave. I was wrong. Ethan, I really know I was wrong. She grabbed my arm from behind, and tears instantly streamed down her face. I shouldn't have doubted you. I shouldn't have defended Dylan. I'm such a fool, such a bastard. Scold me, hit me, do whatever you want. Please, I'm begging you, forgive me, okay? She cried with tear-streaked cheeks, looking pitiful and delicate. If she were still the original owner, seeing her like this, she'd have probably softened long ago. Unfortunately, I'm not. I forcefully shook off her hand, my gaze cold as ice as I looked at her. Sophia, save your cheap tears. Your apology is worth nothing to me. You only realize your mistake now? Too late. When you led a group of people to judge me like a criminal, when you trampled on our more than 2 years relationship for the sake of an outsider, You should have anticipated today. The mistake you made can't be wiped away with a single sorry. I'm not a garbage dump, and I won't trip over the same piece of trash twice. My words were like knives, mercilessly plunging into her heart. She was so berated that her face went deathly pale, her whole body trembling, unable to utter a single word. Also, don't come to bother me again. I leaned toward her, lowered my voice to a volume only the two of us could hear, and said, "Otherwise, I can't promise I won't print out those righteously indignant screenshots of you online and plaster them all over the hallway of your dorm." After speaking, I stopped looking at her, turned, and strode away. Behind me, her suppressed, uncontrollable sobbing came through. That cry. Honestly, it sounded quite pleasant. Back in the dorm, Jake was holding my meal card, about to head to the cafeteria. "Ethan, you're back? Want something to eat? Your brother brought you something. Sweet and sour pork, plus a chicken drumstick." "All right." Watching Jake's elated back, I smiled. This is what a friend is. As for Sophia, she was just a passerby in the journey of my life, a lesson. A reminder to never harbor illusions about stupidity and betrayal, a negative example. In the days that followed, Dylan completely vanished from the school. I heard that the disciplinary committee's investigation was intense. They dug up everything from his university years. You don't know until you look, and once you do, you're shocked. This guy who usually looks like a proper gentleman has been doing so many dirty deeds behind people's backs, it's impossible to list them all. Taking money to ghostwrite papers, using his position to resell event tickets, falsifying application materials for students claiming financial need. Each one of those alone would be enough to get him expelled 100 times over. When the final investigation results came out, everyone was stunned. On the school's bulletin board, a disciplinary decision 3 pages long was posted. Dylan, for multiple serious violations of school rules, has been formally expelled and ordered to return all improperly obtained gains. At the same time, the school has handed the relevant materials over to the judicial authorities, and he may also face legal sanctions. This news set the whole school abuzz. Expelled. Holy crap, that's the harshest punishment, right? Serves him right. Scum like that should be kicked out of school. Refreshing to the core. Thanks to Ethan for ridding us of a menace. As for Dylan, upon learning of the disciplinary decision, he was completely driven to desperation. That night, I was in the dorm playing online games with Jake when I suddenly received a call from an unknown number. I answered casually and put on speaker. On the other end of the line came Dylan's cold, venomous voice. "Ethan, it's you, it's all your fault. I have nothing left, and you won't have it easy either. Just you wait, I won't let you off." A naked threat. Jake frowned as he listened from the side. This bastard's gone crazy, hasn't he? Still daring to threaten you? And yet I smiled. Just in time. I said calmly into the phone, "Dylan, have you forgotten? The law says that threatening others, when the circumstances are serious, can be punishable by imprisonment. I'm recording this entire call right now. Tell me, if I hand this recording over to the police, how do you think they'll deal with you?" On the other end of the line, Dylan's breathing abruptly grew heavy. He probably hadn't expected that I would still be so calm at this point, even reciting laws to him. He ed for a long time, unable to utter a single complete sentence. I advise you to spend more time thinking about how to explain this to your parents and how to face the prison sentence ahead. As for me, you needn't trouble yourself. After speaking, I hung up the phone immediately. Then, in front of Jake, I packaged that recording together with the unknown number and sent them to Mr. Lewis. I attached a single line. "Mr. Lewis, I feel my personal safety is threatened. I'm a little scared." Haha, the male lead is so naive. "I'm a little scared," laughs. Killing and condemning his heart. They're trying to ruin Dylan completely. Well done. You can't show any mercy to scum like that. The barrage of comments cheered. Jake stared at my move, dumbfounded, and finally gave me a thumbs up. "Ethan, you're my real brother. That move was brilliant." I smiled and picked up the game controller again. The game continues. I knew that Dylan's act had only truly come to an end at this point. A pathetic clown who couldn't even take a bow without looking utterly embarrassed. Dylan's threatening phone calls became the final straw that broke him. I heard the police found him that very night. With both witness testimony and physical evidence, he didn't even have a chance to make excuses. In the end, he was sentenced to 3 years in prison after multiple charges were combined. A once promising top student from a prestigious school had literally handed himself over to prison. How ironic. And with Dylan's complete downfall, the school also compensated me. After meetings and deliberation, the department unanimously agreed to award the vacant graduate recommendation spot to me. Moreover, the school even awarded me a principal special award to recognize my outstanding contribution to upholding academic integrity and the righteous spirit of the campus. For a time, I was unrivaled in my glory. From a much-hated, vicious scoundrel, I became the universally praised campus hero. This dramatic reversal became the talk of many. But I took it all back with a very casual attitude. I was simply reclaiming everything that rightfully belonged to me. What truly made me happy was being completely freed from the mire of the past, especially Sophia. Since the last time I exposed her in public and threatened her with screenshots, she completely settled down. She never came to find me again, nor did she send any more messages. I heard she had a hard time at school. No matter where she went, people would whisper and point at her behind her back. Those friends who used to gather around her now all keep their distance from her. She had truly become a solitary, lonely person. The feeling of being abandoned and isolated by the whole world, she finally experienced it herself. This is the price she should have paid back when she led the bullying against me. After the final exams ended and the Christmas break arrived, I packed my things and prepared to go home. When I walked out of the dormitory building, I unexpectedly saw a familiar figure. It was Sophia. She stood not far away, more haggard and thin than before, her face as pale as a sheet of paper. When she saw me, she didn't rush over like last time. She just stood at a distance, looking at me with a complicated expression. In her eyes there was remorse, unwillingness, pain, and a hint of pleading. I kept my gaze straight ahead, pulled my suitcase, and walked past her as if she were an irrelevant stranger. Just as we brushed past each other, I heard her, in a barely audible voice, say one sentence. "I'm sorry, and congratulations." I didn't stop. I walked straight toward the school gate. What meaning is there in a belated apology and congratulations? A broken mirror can never be made whole again. Some wounds, once inflicted, can never heal. I will not forgive her. Never. If I forgive her, then who will forgive the original owner who, in despair, dropped out of school and eventually died of melancholy? That Christmas break was exceptionally peaceful for me. No more entanglement with Sophia, and none of the headaches like Dylan. I put all my energy into my major studies and preparing for graduate school. Occasionally, a few comments would still drift across the screen. "Oh, Sophia seems a bit off." Lately, she's been posting some really gloomy things on social media. Things like, "If I could start over, nothing can ever go back," and the like. Could she be thinking of doing something desperate? I saw those comments and just sneered. Lost her mind? From what I know of Sophia, a person as selfish and self-centered as she is more afraid of death than anyone. Her putting on this act of life or death desperation is nothing more than a bid for sympathy. Perhaps she even clings to the faint hope that me seeing her so agonized will soften me, make me turn back. Unfortunately for her, she miscalculated. I'm not a saint, much less a philanthropist. Whether her life turns out well or badly is no longer my concern. After school started, I returned to campus and quickly threw myself into my new studies and life. I thought the story between Sophia and me had been completely closed. But unexpectedly, she reappeared in my world in a way I never could have imagined. That day, I was reading in a library when I suddenly received a call from an unknown number. On the other end was the voice of a middle-aged woman, her tone very unfriendly. "Is this Ethan? I'm Sophia's mother, Mrs. Taylor." I frowned. Sophia's mother? What does she want with me? "Hello, Mrs. Taylor. May I ask what this is about?" I kept up basic politeness. "What is it about?" "My daughter is almost depressed because of you. and you still ask me, what's the matter? Mrs. Taylor's voice suddenly rose, full of accusation and resentment. You're a boy. How can your heart be so cruel? Sophia only made a small mistake back then, didn't she? She knows she was wrong and has apologized to you. Why won't you forgive her? You young people date and break up all the time. Isn't that normal? Did you have to go so far, do something so final, that you'd only be satisfied by driving my daughter to death? Listening to her barrage of accusations, I almost laughed with anger. A small mistake? They led the online bullying against me, driving me to the brink of dropping out. Is that just a minor mistake? They're truly a den of snakes and rats. Like mother, like daughter. Mrs. Taylor. I cut her off, my voice turning cold. First of all, your daughter and I have broken up. Whatever happens to her now has nothing to do with me. Secondly, what she did back then wasn't a small mistake. It was a big mistake that nearly ruined my life. That I didn't call the police to hold her legally accountable is my greatest act of mercy. Finally, please keep your daughter in check, and please stop harassing me from now on. Otherwise, I won't hesitate to tell your relatives, friends, and neighbors exactly everything your daughter did to me back then, down to the last detail, and let them judge for themselves who drove whom into a dead end. Beep, beep, beep. I didn't wait for her to reply. I hung up the phone. Arguing with someone who can't see straight is useless. Only by threatening her in the way she fears, most will she behave. As expected, after that, Mrs. Taylor never called again. And Sophia finally arrived at her crematorium. I had thought that after I'd put her in her place like that once, Sophia and her family would give up for good. But I had still underestimated the tenacity of her whole family. A few days later, on a weekend afternoon, Jake suddenly ran back to the dorm with a strange look on his face. Ethan, guess who I saw at the school gate? Who? Sophia and her parents. Jake looked incredulous. The three of them, carrying big bags and small parcels of gifts. By the look of it, they seem like they're coming to you to beg for forgiveness. I frowned. They really won't cry until they see the coffin. Here it comes, the classic family visit moral blackmail segment. Male lead, don't soften. Tell them to get lost. I bet a pack of spicy strips that the male lead will keep them from even entering the dorm building. The viewers' guesses were spot on. I called the security guard downstairs, Mr. Lee Porter. Hello, Mr. Lee Porter. This is Ethan from 502. A family of 3 might come looking for me in a bit. Could you please stop them and say I'm not home? Mr. Lee Porter, the security guard, was a helpful man. He knew I was the victim after the whole fuss about Dylan last time. He agreed without hesitation. Don't worry, Ethan. I'll take care of it. Sure enough, before long my phone rang. It was Sophia. I had blocked her usual number, so she switched to a new one. I answered the call, and before she could speak, I said straight away, don't waste your effort. I won't see any of you. Ethan, her voice was choked with tears. My parents just want to apologize to you in person. We mean no harm. Please, won't you just see us once? No, I refused coldly. I'll say it one last time. We're over. I can't accept and don't want an apology from your family. From now on, we go our separate ways and don't bother each other. That's the best outcome between us. If you insist on making a scene, I won't mind seeing it through to the end. After speaking, I hung up again and blocked the number. Downstairs, Sophia and her parents, despite the security guard's attempts to stop them, ultimately couldn't get up. I looked down from the window and saw Sophia's father, so angry his face had turned ashen. Mrs. Taylor was pointing at the dormitory building, continuously cursing something under her breath. As for Sophia, she just stood there dazed, tears slipping down her face in silence. Their whole family, like a farcical comedy, left in disarray amid the pointing and whispering of the passing students. From then on, Sophia seemed to have evaporated from this world. I heard that she had taken a leave of absence. Some said she went home to recuperate, and others said she transferred schools. In short, she never appeared in my life again, and my life got back on track. I secured my graduate program recommendation, my studies went smoothly, and I used my spare time to work with my advisor on a very promising project, for which we received a $2,000 prize. I used that money to buy myself a new computer and treated Jake to a meal at the city's most upscale restaurant. Life was carefree and pleasant. Sometimes I would think of the original owner. If he hadn't chosen silence, if he had been a bit braver, perhaps he could have had a life like this too. But sadly, there are no ifs. All I could do was carry his share and live better. Because of it, time flew, and before I knew it, I was a senior. The postgraduate recommendation settled, and I was taken on by a top professor at my university, researching the area I was most interested in, artificial intelligence. Although Jake didn't get the recommendation, with excellent grades and substantial practical experience, he signed with a well-known domestic internet company, Aurora Tech, and his future looked bright. Our dormitory became the most envied top students' dorm in the department. Life seemed to be moving in the best possible direction. That day, I was running data in the lab when my supervisor suddenly called me in his office. "Ethan, next month there's a Municipal Youth Science and Technology Innovation Forum. Our lab has one recommended spot, and I want you to go." The supervisor smiled and handed me a document. I was flattered and taken aback. "Professor, I just joined the lab. I'm afraid I'm not qualified yet, right?" "Whether you're qualified isn't decided by seniority. It depends on ability." The supervisor patted my shoulder, his eyes full of approval. "The data model you made for that last project was excellent, very creative. This forum is a great opportunity. It'll let you meet many industry leaders and broaden your horizons. Go on, prepare well, and don't embarrass me." "Yes, thank you, teacher." I eagerly took the materials, my heart brimming with determination. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I had to seize it with both hands. For the next month, I practically lived in the lab and the library. I went through a large amount of literature, repeatedly revised my speech and PPT, striving for perfection. Seeing me work so hard, Jake couldn't help but complain, "Ethan, are you trying to outwork the entire department to death?" I smiled. It's a rare opportunity. I have to live up to the supervisor's trust. On the day of the forum, I stood in the conference hall of the City Exhibition Center wearing a newly bought suit. Seated below were experts and scholars from major universities, research institutes, and well-known companies. I took a deep breath, stepped onto the podium, and began my presentation. I was speaking about the application of a new type of algorithm in the field of image recognition. At first, I was a little nervous, but as I spoke, I became completely absorbed. I presented my understanding of the field, my innovative ideas, and my experimental data clearly and systematically to everyone present. When the 15-minute talk ended, there was a moment of silence in the audience, followed by thunderous applause. I knew I had succeeded. In the following Q&A session, several industry heavyweights showed strong interest in my project and asked me several very professional questions. I responded calmly to each one, answering smoothly. Finally, a technical director from the country's top tech company, Aurora Tech, even extended an olive branch to me on the spot. "Ethan, your idea is excellent. Our company is setting up a new AI lab and would very much welcome talent like you. Here's my business card. If you're interested after graduation, feel free to contact me anytime." I took the business card, my heart trembling with excitement. Aurora Tech. That was the place every computer science student dreamed of. It all felt as wonderful as a dream. After the forum ended, my name caused a stir around the school once again. "Ethan is awesome." He was directly noticed by the director at Aurora Tech. Now that's a real academic god. Night and day compared to those frauds who rely on plagiarism. Sophia must have been blind back then, losing a watermelon to pick up sesame seeds. She must be racked with regret now. Whenever people talked about me, they inevitably mentioned those two names that were already nearly forgotten. Dylan was still furthering his studies in prison. As for Sophia, after she took a leave of absence, there was no further news. It was as if that person had never appeared in my life. Days passed one by one. My life was busy and full. Besides studying and doing research, I also began to consciously expand my social circle. In an academic salon, I met a junior from the foreign languages department. Her name was Chloe Reed. She looked pure and adorable, with a cheerful, generous personality and two faint dimples when she smiled. She was a volunteer at our salon, responsible for the simultaneous interpretation. Her fluent spoken English and confident, composed presence left a deep impression on me. After the salon ended, I proactively asked her for her contact information. We began chatting from academics to films, from travel to food. There was always more to talk about. Being with her, I felt very relaxed and happy. It was a feeling I had never experienced when I was with Sophia. My relationship with Sophia had been, from the start, full of the original girl's one-sided giving and flattery. He loved her meekly and cautiously. But with Chloe, it was equal and mutually magnetic. I knew I might be falling for her. One weekend, I asked Chloe to go to a newly opened bookstore cafe. We sat by the window, the sunlight warmly falling on us. She held a cup of latte, listening intently as I recounted amusing stories from the lab, occasionally letting out a bell-like laugh. In that moment, looking at her smiling face, I suddenly felt that the people and events of the past really were very, very far from me. At that moment, the cafe door was pushed open and a familiar yet strange silhouette stepped in. It was Sophia. She had lost a lot of weight and tanned. Wearing plain clothes, her face bore the kind of fatigue carved by life. She seemed to be working here, holding a tray and a rag. When her eyes met mine in the air, her whole body went rigid. The tray in her hand tilted, and the cup on it clattered to the floor and shattered. Everyone in the cafe turned their gaze to her in unison. Her face flushed bright red in an instant. Sophia panicked and crouched down, fumbling to pick up the shards of glass from the floor. Store manager Mr. Ryan rushed over at the sound. Seeing the scene, he immediately scolded loudly. "Sophia, what are you doing? Hands off! Do you not want this month's bonus, or what?" Sophia kept her head down, apologizing repeatedly. "I'm sorry, Mr. Ryan. I didn't mean to. I'm sorry." Her voice was choked with sobs, utterly disheveled. I watched her quietly, not a flicker of emotion in my eyes. Chloe noticed my oddness, followed my gaze, then softly asked me, "Do you know her?" I withdrew my gaze, shook my head, and spoke calmly. "No, I don't know her. Just someone unrelated." After speaking, I picked up the menu on the table, handed it to Chloe, and smiled. "Do you want to try the tiramisu here? I hear it's good." Chloe glanced at me, then at the disheveled figure being scolded in the distance, and nodded thoughtfully. "All right." And so, we continued our afternoon tea, as if everything that had just happened was merely a minor incident. Sophia quickly tidied up the mess on the floor, then lowered her head and hurried into the back kitchen, never to come out again. I know, she saw me. She also saw Chloe by my side, saw how happily we were chatting. She also heard my cold, resolute, "I don't know you." This might be the best punishment for her. Let her watch with her own eyes how well I'm doing without her. Make her understand what kind of precious love she once gave up. Make her spend the rest of her life in endless remorse. When I left the cafe, the sunset was beautiful. Golden light flooded the entire street and fell on Chloe and me. "Let's go, I'll walk you back to the dorm." I said, "Okay." She smiled and walked beside me on the sidewalk. Our shadows were stretched long behind us. In my mind, the last barrage of comments drifted by. "Congratulations, host. You have completely broken free from the past and begun a brand new life. Throw confetti." This is the kind of happy ending a wish fulfillment story should have. The ex-girlfriend is full of remorse. The brown-nosing guy rots in prison. The male lead marries a rich, beautiful woman and reaches the pinnacle of life. Perfect. I looked at Chloe's bright smile beside me, and the corner of my mouth lifted slightly. Yes, perfect. Goodbye to those absurd people and events. Goodbye to that cowardly past. My future is the stars, is the sea. It belongs to me alone, with endless possibilities. George, I've got good news and bad news. Which do you want to hear first? I put down my paintbrush and looked at my friend Frank. He stood at the studio door with a mysterious air, his face a mix of nervousness and excitement. Let's start with the bad news. After all, I've gotten used to it these past 3 years. Your painting, Eternity, just sold for a sky-high price. Over $6 million. I frowned. How is that bad news? Frank chuckled. Because it's actually part of the good news. The bad news is, buddy, you might need to see a psychiatrist. What do you mean? A woman who looks exactly like Mary showed up at your art exhibition. I almost thought I was seeing a ghost. The paintbrush slipped from my hand and fell to the floor, splattering paint across the unfinished canvas. Mary, my late wife, died 3 years ago after accidentally falling off a cliff. I watched with my own eyes as her body was pulled from the water. In that moment, my world completely collapsed. Stop joking around, Frank. Why would I lie to you? She even left this. Frank handed me a note, with an address and a time written on it. My hand trembled slightly. The handwriting was exactly the same as Mary's. That night, I waited until midnight at the designated cafe. Just as I was about to leave, a familiar figure appeared at the door. Mary? No, it couldn't be her. But every gesture of that woman, from the tips of her hair to her fingertips, was a shadow of Mary. George, it's been a long time. She sat across from me, and the familiar voice nearly made my heart stop. Who are you? I struggled to remain calm. I'm Mary, your wife. She smiled and reached out her hand. There was a scar on her palm, the mark Mary got when she accidentally cut herself on glass at 15. Impossible. Mary is already dead. She laughed softly. That was just an accident. I fell off the cliff and was saved by a reclusive old doctor. I lost my memory from the injuries and only recently remembered everything. As she spoke, tears began to fall with an expression I knew all too well, the look Mary wore whenever she felt wronged. I know it's hard to believe, but I really am Mary. I couldn't believe my eyes. The shade of lipstick Mary loved most, the faint little mole beneath her left ear, the unconscious habit of rubbing her ring while speaking. Everything was so familiar. You? Are you really Mary? She nodded and took a small box out of her bag. This is the proof. Inside the box was the first piece of jewelry Mary ever designed. A sapphire ring, the only one of its kind, never mass-produced. I brought it with me that day because I wanted to surprise you. I suddenly stood up and pulled her into my arms. 3 years of longing surged over me like a tide. I held her tightly, afraid that if I let go, she would disappear again. On the way home, she told me about her experiences over the past 3 years. She was rescued by an old doctor in the mountains, lost her memory due to a severe head injury, and lived in a remote mountain village for more than 2 years. It wasn't until she happened to see a poster for my art exhibition that her memory gradually returned. The next day, I took her to see Frank. Oh my God, it really is you, Mary. Frank stared in astonishment, eyes wide. Frank, it's been a long time. She greeted him with a smile, exactly as I remembered. Frank pulled me aside and whispered, Man, this is unbelievable, but I really believe it's her. Who else but Mary could call me by my childhood nickname so accurately? That was something only the two of you knew. A week later, Mary officially returned. We held a small welcome party for her. Her mother was so overwhelmed that she fainted, and when she woke up, she clung to her daughter and refused to let go. But that night, I noticed the first sign that something was off. Mary never ate mangoes because she was severely allergic. Yet the returned Mary absent-mindedly tasted a mango dessert and was perfectly fine. Aren't you allergic to mangoes? I asked. She paused for a moment, then quickly laughed and said, Oh, that old Chinese doctor cured my allergy. He's really amazing. I nodded, but in my heart, I marked the first question mark. Is this really my wife? A month passed quickly, and Mary blended perfectly into our lives. She knew the location of every item in the house, remembered our shared memories, and could even accurately name friends we hadn't contacted in years. But those subtle feelings of discord kept growing. For example, the real Mary liked to listen to classical music, especially Debussy, while designing jewelry. But she would always unconsciously hum along to pop songs. Mary always habitually used her left hand to hold chopsticks, even though she knew it was wrong. She just couldn't change. But she was a standard right-handed user. The most obvious difference appeared that night when I accidentally caught her smoking in the bedroom. The real Mary hated the smell of smoke. Even when I came home from social events with a faint scent of cigarettes, she would frown. When did you start smoking? I stood at the doorway, my voice soft. She was clearly startled, hastily snuffing out the cigarette. This is a herbal cigarette for treating insomnia, prescribed by an old Chinese doctor. I nodded, not pressing further, but the doubts in my heart only grew deeper. The next day, I went to find Frank. Help me check if, in the past 3 years, plastic surgery technology has advanced enough to achieve this level. Frank's eyes widened. You mean, she's not Mary? I'm not sure, but there are always some things that don't add up. 2 days later, Frank brought news. High-end plastic surgery can make faces look similar, but it can't replicate the exact placement of scars or moles. And there's a limit to how well someone can imitate a voice. What if it was a twin? Frank shook his head. Mary is an only child. We all know that. I decided not to show my feelings for now and to keep observing. A week later, Mary's mother came to my house with astonishing news. George, Mary is going to have a baby, my mother-in-law told me excitedly. I stood there stunned. Before we got married, Mary had been diagnosed with uterine hypoplasia. The doctor had made it clear she could never get pregnant. This was our shared secret. Not even my mother-in-law knew. How do you know that? I managed to ask. Mary told me this morning. She said she already had a checkup. It's been 2 months. My mother-in-law happily grabbed my hand. It's a blessing from above. Mary survived death, and now she can bring us new life. My heart sank to the bottom. This absolutely could not be Mary. That night, I dug out the hospital's diagnosis certificate in my study, which clearly stated the condition of Mary's uterus. But when I wanted to talk to Mary about it, I found her in the bedroom, excitedly discussing the decoration of the nursery with my mother-in-law. Mary, could you come here for a moment? I called her calmly. She followed me into the study, still wearing a blissful smile on her face. Did you forget about this? I handed her the diagnosis certificate. She took it and glanced at it, her face instantly turning pale. George, I can explain. Explain what? Explain that you're not Mary at all. Mother-in-law heard the commotion and walked in. What's going on with you two? Mom, take a look at this. I handed her the proof. My mother-in-law read it, then looked at Mary in astonishment. What's going on? Mary, you can't have children. Of course she can, I sneered, because she's not Mary at all. My mother-in-law's face changed dramatically. What nonsense are you talking about? I can explain. She hurriedly grabbed my mother-in-law's hand. That old Chinese doctor not only saved my life, but also cured my uterine problem. It's a miracle, truly. My mother-in-law looked at me, then at her, hesitating. George, you're being too paranoid. My mother-in-law finally took her daughter's side. Mary has come back with great difficulty. You should cherish her, not doubt her. Yes, George, I know this is hard to accept, but miracles do happen. Tears welled up in her eyes. Haven't we always wanted a child? Now we can finally have our own baby. I looked at her face, identical to Mary's. Yet I became more certain in my heart. This woman was not my wife. All right, I believe you. I smiled, deciding to go along with their story for now. Let's wait together for this miracle to happen. That night, I secretly contacted a private detective. My mother-in-law gladly accepted her daughter's explanation, even suggesting she move in with us to take care of Mary during her pregnancy. Outwardly, I agreed, but inside I grew even more wary. This was no coincidence. There had to be some kind of plot. Mom, haven't you always lived in Haicheng? Won't it be hard to get used to living here? I probed cautiously. For my grandson, I'm willing to endure any inconvenience, my mother-in-law said firmly. I noticed a fleeting unnatural expression on Mary's face. Could the truth be connected to my mother-in-law? On the 3rd day after my mother-in-law moved in, I discovered more suspicious details. For example, the real Mary never drank coffee, but she and my mother-in-law often enjoyed it together. Also, Mary's favorite movie was Roman Holiday, but she claimed to prefer Titanic. The strangest thing is, Mary used to despise her cousin Tom when she was alive, but now he visits frequently and chats and laughs with Mary as if they're old friends. I told Frank about these discoveries. Buddy, things are getting more and more suspicious, Frank frowned. Are you sure you want to keep going like this? Why not just expose her directly? It's not the right time yet. I want to find out what they're really after. The private detective's investigation also made progress. The so-called old Chinese doctor who had saved Mary did not exist at all, and Mary's whereabouts over the past 3 years were completely untraceable. More importantly, the private detective uncovered a shocking fact during the investigation. Mary's cousin Tom was deeply in debt from gambling, and the painting Eternity under my name worth over $6 million, was his only hope for quick cash. "They're after your painting," the private detective asserted, "and this fake Mary is likely a professional identity fraudster, hired to win your trust." I took a deep breath and decided to take the initiative. That afternoon, I pretended to go out, but secretly returned home and hid in the study. Sure enough, Mary and her cousin Tom were whispering to each other in the living room. "It's taking too long," Tom said irritably. "How much longer until he sells the painting?" "Don't worry," she soothed him. "I'm already pregnant, and now he completely believes I'm Mary. In a little while, I'll say I want to move to a better neighborhood for the sake of the baby, and then we'll naturally need to sell the painting to raise money." "You're really pregnant?" "That wasn't part of the plan. It was an accident, but it works to our advantage. George wants a child so badly." "Does Annie know the truth?" "She only knows we're trying to scam money, not the specific plan. But she hates George, thinks he caused her daughter's death, so she's more than happy to help." I clenched my fists. So my mother-in-law had always believed that Mary's accident was somehow my fault. In fact, we did argue over something trivial that day, and Mary stormed out in anger. I didn't try to stop her. But I never imagined it would be the last time I'd see her. "You don't actually have feelings for George, do you?" Tom suddenly asked. She was silent for a moment. "It's just part of the job. Besides, I owe you, and I won't go back on my word." "Good then. Don't forget how we're splitting the money once we get it." Their conversation confirmed my suspicions. This was all an elaborate scheme, with my eternity as the target. In the days that followed, I pretended everything was normal while secretly making preparations. I contacted the police, arranged for evidence-gathering equipment, and found the last piece Mary had left before she died, a silver necklace that had never been made public, engraved with an anniversary date only the two of us knew. 2 weeks later, my art exhibition was held as scheduled. As planned, Mary brought up the idea of moving, hinting that I could sell eternity. I pretended to agree and said I would auction the painting on the last day of the exhibition. "This is a surprise I prepared for you," I said on the eve of the exhibition, taking out a delicate box. "To celebrate the new life we're about to begin." She opened the box in surprise, and inside was the silver necklace. "It's beautiful, thank you." She smiled as she prepared to put it on. "Wait," I stopped her. "Aren't you going to look at the engraving on the back?" She turned the necklace over, and her face suddenly went pale. "What's wrong? Don't you like it?" I asked, feigning ignorance. "No, I really like it. It's just, I'm a bit moved." She forced a smile, but didn't know how to explain that she couldn't recognize the significance of that date. "See you tomorrow. Get some good rest, and don't forget to wear this necklace." I kissed her forehead and whispered in her ear, "After all, this is your final design." Her body visibly stiffened for a moment, but she kept smiling. "Of course, I cherish it very much. Tomorrow, the truth will come to light." On the day of the exhibition, the place was packed with people. My painting, Eternity, was displayed in the most prominent spot, right next to the last batch of jewelry designs Mary had created before her death. Mary held my arm, flawlessly playing the role of my wife as always. She had even gone out of her way to wear Mary's favorite white dress and the silver necklace I had given her last night. My mother-in-law and Tom were there too. The three of them exchanged glances from time to time, clearly waiting for the perfect moment. Frank appeared as planned, pretending to be extremely interested in Eternity and asking me about the auction details. "The auction will begin promptly at 4 in the afternoon," I replied with a smile. "This painting means a great deal to me, and I hope it finds someone who truly appreciates it." Mary immediately chimed in. "Yes, although it's hard to part with it, this is a necessary decision for our future." I noticed she glanced at Tom, who gave a barely perceptible nod. At 3:30 in the afternoon, the projector in the center of the exhibition hall lit up. This was the special segment I had arranged. "Ladies and gentlemen, I stood in front of Eternity. Before the auction begins, I'd like to share a little story about this painting." Mary's photo appeared on the projection screen, a group picture from her last birthday party before she passed away. 3 years ago, my wife Mary died in an accident. I created this painting, Eternity, in her memory. The woman in the painting has her back to the viewer, forever gazing into the distance, symbolizing a longing I can never reach. A soft sigh rippled through the crowd. Mary stood beside me, matching my words with a sorrowful expression. However, a month ago, a miracle happened. I turned to look at Mary. My wife came back. The whole room erupted in astonishment, and many people curiously sized up, "Mary. This is my wife, Mary." I took her hand and stepped forward. Back from the dead, it's truly the greatest blessing heaven could have given me. She smiled and nodded to everyone, while my mother-in-law and Tom stood by with smug expressions. However, my tone suddenly shifted. Amidst my joy, a question arose. Is she really Mary? The entire room fell silent. Mary's hand trembled slightly in my palm. So, I did some investigating. The projector switched to a set of comparison photos. On the left was the real Mary. On the right was a photo of her. They look exactly the same, don't they? But I clicked the remote, and the photo was enlarged, the details highlighted. The position of the piercing on the left ear was slightly different, the arch of the eyebrows subtly varied, and the fine lines at the corners of the eyes ran in different directions. These are details that even professional plastic surgery cannot fully replicate. Mary tried to pull her hand away, but I held on tightly. My mother-in-law and Tom also began to grow anxious, glancing toward the exit. More importantly, the real Mary has a feature that cannot be copied. I turned to Mary. The necklace I gave you last night has a date engraved on the back. Can you tell everyone what that date is? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. That was the due date of our first child, the one we lost. I spoke softly, my voice trembling with emotion. Mary designed this necklace to commemorate the baby we never got to meet. The date was our secret, only Mary and I knew. The room fell utterly silent. Mary turned deathly pale, my mother-in-law's eyes widened, and Tom had already started edging toward the door. What surprised me even more, I continued, was that the real Mary could never get pregnant due to an underdeveloped uterus. Yet this, Mary claims she's already 2 months along. I let go of her hand and took a step back. So, who are you really? A flicker of despair flashed in Mary's eyes, but she quickly regained her composure. I am Mary, it's just that old Chinese doctor. The non-existent old Chinese doctor, right? I sneered. Just like the non-existent amnesia, the non-existent miraculous recovery. I turned toward the projection screen. Let's see the truth. The screen played the secretly recorded video of her conversation with Tom, their discussion on how to swindle eternity, clearly audible. This isn't. She tried to explain, but my mother-in-law had already rushed forward. Who are you really? My mother-in-law screamed. You're not my daughter? Auntie, stop pretending, I said calmly. You know she's not Mary. You just wanted to get back at me, didn't you? My mother-in-law's face turned pale. I didn't know she was going to impersonate Mary. Tom just said he needed help to scam some money. Police. Don't move. Several plainclothes officers emerged from the crowd, blocking Tom as he tried to escape. Amid the chaos, Mary took the opportunity to shove me aside and run toward the exit. I chased after her and caught up in the parking lot. Tell me, who are you really? She finally stopped, turned to face me, tears welling in her eyes. My name is Luna. I'm an actress. Tom found me and said if I helped trick you out of a painting, he'd give me $1 million. I needed the money for my sister's medical treatment. Why did they choose me? Why Mary? She shook her head. I don't know. They gave me a lot of information, photos, videos, even your chat logs. I was just following the script. The police arrived and took her away. I stood where I was, gazing at the distant sky, my heart a tumult of emotions. Back in the exhibition hall, the crowd had already dispersed, leaving only Frank and a few police officers. It's all been cleared up, Frank walked over. Tom owed money to loan sharks and was desperate. Your mother-in-law always resented you for not saving Mary, so she helped them plan the whole thing. I walked up to eternity, gently caressing the back of the woman in the painting. Mary, I can finally give you an answer. The police left with the evidence. Frank patted me on the shoulder. What do you plan to do next? I took a deep breath. Prepare for the final painting. What will it be called? The Pursuit, I said softly. This time, I'll paint her face, not just her back. After the case was solved, my life seemed to return to where it was 3 years ago. Eternity was temporarily held by the court as crucial evidence. Tom and Luna were arrested for fraud, and my mother-in-law was investigated as an accomplice. The prosecution wants you to testify in court, the officer called to inform me. The trial is scheduled for early next month. I agreed, though I was utterly exhausted inside. After exposing the deception, I thought I would feel the thrill of revenge, But what I felt instead was a profound emptiness. Those days spent with Mary that month had allowed me to feel a trace of warmth in life again, even if that warmth was born of lies. Frank often came to see me, worried I might fall into despair once more. I told him not to worry, that I was working on a new piece, The Pursuit. Are you really going to paint Mary's face from the front? Frank asked curiously. For the past 3 years, you've always refused to do that. It's time, I replied. We can't live in the past forever. I moved out of the apartment I had shared with Mary and returned to the old house in the suburbs, the place where the real Mary and I had first made our home. The dust-laden memories in the house brought me both pain and comfort. Mary's studio remained just as she had left it, design sketches scattered across the table, unfinished jewelry drafts pinned to the drawing board. One afternoon, while sorting through Mary's belongings, I discovered an encrypted external hard drive. After several attempts, I finally unlocked it using our wedding anniversary as the password. Inside were backups of Mary's design works, along with some personal photos and videos. One folder in particular caught my attention. Inside a folder named Plan was a series of jewelry design sketches, labeled George's Birthday Special Project. It was then I remembered that, in the months before Mary passed away, she often spoke mysteriously about giving me an unparalleled birthday surprise. Leafing through these design drafts, I couldn't help but be moved to tears. Mary had planned to design a jewelry collection inspired by my paintings over the years, with each piece corresponding to a representative work from my artistic career. The last page was a sketch of a ring, with a dark red stone set in the center, its edges adorned with tiny diamonds, closely resembling the sunrise in my early work, Dawn. This is blood amber? I examined the notes carefully, confirming the name of this rare gemstone. Mary's designs had always been bold, but blood amber is extremely rare in the Chinese market, almost impossible to acquire. How did she obtain such a material? As I continued searching, I found a series of email correspondence screenshots. Mary had actually contacted a gemstone dealer in Myanmar, commissioning the blood amber specifically for this ring. The last email showed that the gem had already been shipped, but the date was exactly 1 week before Mary's death. I immediately called Frank. Help me check if there was a package sent from Myanmar 3 years ago, addressed to Mary. 2 days later, Frank brought news. The package did exist, but since no one signed for it, it was returned. However, according to the shipping records, it was resent a month ago, this time addressed to you. What? I was completely confused. I haven't received any package. Check your old apartment? Frank suggested. Back at my old apartment, the manager told me there was indeed a package, but it had been signed for by Mary. She said it was a surprise for you, so she didn't notify you, the manager explained. This meant Luna had taken the blood amber. I rushed to the detention center and requested to see Luna. Separated by glass, she looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but still wore that face so similar to Mary's. What are you doing here? She asked coldly. A month ago, you signed for a package from Myanmar. There was a blood amber inside. I want to know where it is. She looked surprised. How did you know? Tom asked me to sign for it. He said it was some precious gem. He took it. My heart sank. Tom was deep in gambling debt. A precious blood amber would be a windfall for him. He had probably sold it long ago. That blood amber is very important to me, I said softly. It was the last gift my wife left me. Luna was silent for a moment, then suddenly said, maybe it's not that bad. Tom said the stone has flaws, its value is greatly reduced, and he hasn't found a suitable buyer yet. Hope was rekindled. If Tom hadn't sold the blood amber yet, maybe there was still a chance to get it back. Do you know where he might hide it? Luna hesitated for a moment. He has a safe deposit box in a self-storage facility on the east side of the city. After getting the address, I immediately contacted the officer in charge of the case and explained the situation. Since Tom was involved in a large sum of money, the police quickly approved the search request. Mr. George, we've found the safe deposit box, the officer said over the phone. Inside, we did find the blood amber you described, as well as some other evidence. A few hours later, I retrieved the blood amber at the police station. It was even more beautiful than I had imagined. Within the dark red core, wisps of mist seemed to swirl, shifting strangely under the light. This was the birthday gift Mary had so carefully chosen for me, waiting for 3 years. Back home, I carefully placed the blood amber beside the canvas of The Pursuit. The painting was already more than half finished, Mary's face emerging from the blur into clarity, yet it still felt like something was missing. Watching the blood amber glimmer faintly under the light, I suddenly understood how I should complete the painting. The creation of the pursuit entered its final stage. I decided to break convention and incorporate the blood amber into the artwork. This would not only be a portrait, but a hybrid piece that fused painting with the art of jewelry. Are you sure you want to do this? Frank frowned. That blood amber is priceless. That's exactly why, I said firmly. Mary chose it for me. She wanted to inspire an unparalleled masterpiece. I will fulfill her wish. For 2 whole weeks, I worked day and night, neglecting sleep and food. I cut the blood amber into thin slices and inlaid them at the spot of Mary's eyes on the canvas, making her gaze truly come alive. I used a special technique to blend the surrounding paint, creating a harmonious transition with the gemstone. From certain angles, the entire painting seemed to be imbued with life, and Mary's expression would shift depending on where the viewer stood. On the day I finished the piece, Frank brought news. Luna had been sentenced to 3 years in prison, but due to her good attitude in confessing, she might serve only 1.5 years. Tom, involved in multiple fraud cases, was sentenced to 7 years. My mother-in-law, as an accomplice, received a suspended sentence. The case is finally over, Frank said. Are you planning to exhibit your painting? Yes. Next month there will be a solo exhibition at the National Art Museum, and The Pursuit will be the grand finale. The curator couldn't stop praising this piece, believing it represents the innovative direction of contemporary art and marks the pinnacle of my career. Indeed, this painting, which incorporates Mary's jewelry design concepts, is in some sense a creation we made together. On the eve of the exhibition, I checked the arrangement in the gallery alone one last time, making sure every piece was perfectly lit and positioned. When I reached The Pursuit, I couldn't help but stop and gaze at it. Mary's face was vividly lifelike, her eyes inlaid with blood amber gleaming under the spotlight, as if she were smiling at me. For the first time in 3 years, I faced her directly, no longer painting only her back. Mr. George, a stranger's voice called from behind. Sorry to disturb you, but the gallery has been cleared. He turned around to see a young woman dressed in the museum's staff uniform. And you are? I'm the new curator, responsible for security in your exhibition area, she explained with a smile. I really like your work, especially this piece, The Pursuit. Thank you. I nodded. I'll be leaving soon. She didn't leave, but continued to gaze at the painting. That red gem is beautiful, almost as if it's alive. It's blood amber, I explained, a very rare gemstone. I know, she said softly, top-grade blood amber from Myanmar, containing plant fossils, extremely rare. I looked at her in surprise. You know a lot about jewelry? She smiled. I studied jewelry design. I'm just working part-time here. For some reason, Mary suddenly came to mind. She, too, had an almost obsessive passion for and expertise in gemstones. If you don't mind me asking, who is the woman in this painting? She asked. My wife, I replied. She passed away 3 years ago. She was a jewelry designer. I'm very sorry, she said sincerely, then gestured toward the blood amber. This gem must mean a great deal to you. It was the last birthday gift she chose for me before she died, but I only found it recently. She nodded thoughtfully. Setting it into her portrait is the best way to remember her. For some reason, talking with this unfamiliar woman brought me a strange sense of calm. Perhaps it was her love for jewelry that reminded me of Mary. Sorry, I have to continue my rounds. She glanced at her watch. See you tomorrow, Mr. George. See you tomorrow, I replied, watching her leave. On the way home, I felt an unusual peace. The completion of The Pursuit seemed to mark the end of my search for Mary as well. Not forgetting, but remembering her forever in another way. The next day, the exhibition's opening ceremony attracted numerous figures from the art world and the media. The Pursuit undoubtedly became the center of attention, with people marveling at this innovative form of artistic expression. Amid the crowd, I noticed that curator standing aside, watching as well. Sunlight streamed through the skylight of the gallery, falling upon her, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw Mary's shadow. No, I shook my head, warning myself not to be deceived by mere resemblance. There would never be another Mary in this world, just as there would never be another unique blood amber. After the exhibition, The Pursuit was purchased by an anonymous collector for an astronomical price. I donated all the proceeds to a foundation supporting students in jewelry design, establishing a scholarship in Mary's name. Life slowly moved forward, and I began to accept new commissions and create new works. Occasionally, I would think of that curator with a unique insight into jewelry, wondering if she was still working at the art museum. Until one day, I received an email from HL. There were no words, only an image. A sketch of a ring design, the style strikingly similar to Mary's unfinished series. My heart raced as I replied immediately. Who is this? The response came quickly. Yesterday, you brushed past me by the cafe on the street corner, but you didn't recognize me. If you want to know more, wait for me at the museum entrance at noon tomorrow. Is it that librarian? How could she have a design so reminiscent of Mary's style? Filled with anxiety and anticipation, I decided to accept the invitation and find out for myself. The next day at noon, I arrived at the art museum half an hour early. The sun was shining, and small groups of visitors were coming and going from the exhibition hall. But there was no sign of the mysterious person. Just as I began to suspect this might be some kind of prank, a faint trace of perfume drifted by, a scent unfamiliar to me, yet it inexplicably reminded me of Mary. Mr. George, thank you for coming. The voice behind me made me turn around. It was the curator. Today, she wasn't wearing her uniform, but a simple white dress, completely different from Mary's style when she was alive. Did you send the email? I asked directly. She nodded. There are some things I want to tell you, but not here. Will you come with me? We walked through the small park beside the art museum and arrived at a secluded cafe. The whole time, I kept observing her. Her mannerisms, the way she walked, none of it resembled Mary. Yet her sensitivity to detail and her focused attention gave me a strange sense of familiarity. Who are you, really? The moment we sat down, I couldn't wait to ask. My name is Nicole. She looked me straight in the eye. I'm Mary's student. This answer caught me off guard. Mary had indeed taught jewelry design part-time at the Design Academy before she passed away, but she had never mentioned having any particularly close students. I took her advanced design class the year before she passed, Nicole explained. Her guidance benefited me for a lifetime. That still doesn't explain why your designs resemble her style so much, I said, half convinced. Nicole took a folder out of her bag. These are all notes from Ms. Nicole's class and her feedback on my work. You can look at the handwriting and confirm that it's really hers. I carefully examined the materials. It was indeed Mary's handwriting. There were even traces of the pale purple ink she habitually used. Before Ms. Nicole passed away, she was guiding me on my graduation project, Nicole continued. The theme was interwoven light and shadow, blending Eastern and Western aesthetic elements. She gave me a lot of valuable advice and even showed me a sketch from a private project she was working on at the time. George's special birthday project? I blurted out. Nicole's eyes widened in surprise. You know about it? I only found out recently. I briefly explained the origin of the blood amber. I knew that blood amber would eventually find its way back to you, Nicole said with a smile. Nicole always said it was a destined gift. Is that why you contacted me? Because you saw the blood amber? Nicole was silent for a moment, as if choosing her words carefully. Not entirely. After Nicole passed away, I've been trying to carry on the design philosophy she taught me. Some time ago, I happened to see the news about your eternity being stolen, and then I saw someone impersonating Nicole. I thought I should tell you a few things. She took a letter out of her bag. This is the last letter Nicole gave me after class before she passed away. She said if her surprise plan went smoothly, I should show you this letter. If anything went wrong and she was gone, I should still make sure you see it. I took the envelope. It was indeed Mary's handwriting, and it read, "To my dearest husband." The envelope had already been opened. I didn't know what was in the letter at the time. I just kept it as Nicole instructed, Nicole explained. It wasn't until I saw the news that I opened it. I hope you won't blame me. I carefully took out the letter paper and unfolded it to read. Dear George, if you are reading this letter, perhaps my surprise plan has gone awry. Don't worry, it's just that the plan has changed, and the form of the gift may be different now. The blood amber I picked for you is said to be known as the Eye of Rebirth. Legend has it that looking at the world through it reveals truths that are often overlooked. I hope it can become a turning point in your artistic career, leading you to see new possibilities. All these years, your paintings have always depicted backs, as if you're afraid to face something head-on. I hope this gemstone will give you the courage to paint the front, to capture true emotions. No matter what happens, please remember, love does not disappear, it merely changes form, like this blood amber, which, after millions of years, transforms from resin into a gem, yet still shines. Forever loving you, Mary. The handwriting became a bit messy at the end, as if written in a hurry. I stroked the paper, as if I could feel Mary's emotions at that moment. Thank you, I said, my voice choked with emotion. This means a lot to me. You're welcome. I'm just fulfilling Ms. Nicole's request, Nicole said with a smile. Actually, there's one more thing I'd like to ask your help with. What is it? I'd like to apply for the Mary Scholarship you established, she said, taking a design portfolio out of her bag. This is my graduation project, combining Ms. Nicole's ideas with my own innovations. As I flipped through the portfolio, I was surprised to find that while these designs bore traces of Mary's influence, they also possessed a unique style and innovative touches. In particular, a series called Metamorphosis cleverly combined jewelry with transformable elements, allowing the pieces to change form according to the wearer's mood and occasion. This is outstanding, I praised sincerely. Mary would be proud of you. A hint of joy flashed in Nicole's eyes. Really? I've always worried I couldn't live up to her expectations. You've already moved beyond the learning stage and developed your own style. That's exactly what she hoped to see. As we talked, sunlight streamed through the window and fell on Nicole. In that moment, I seemed to understand something. When Mary spoke of love changing its form, perhaps she wasn't just referring to the blood amber, but also to her passion for art and its legacy. Luna tried to impersonate Mary by mimicking her appearance, but she could never truly replicate who she was. Nicole, on the other hand, looked nothing like Mary, yet she inherited a part of her artistic vision and spirit. Perhaps this is the true gift Mary left me, not the blood amber, but a new possibility, a path out of the past. Nicole's graduation exhibition was held in a small gallery. Though the space was modest, it was exquisitely arranged. Her works were divided into 3 series, representing the past, the present, and the future, forming a complete narrative. This is a brilliant idea, I sincerely praised. From tradition to contemporary and then to the future, it showcases the evolution and possibilities of jewelry design. Nicole smiled and nodded. This was inspired by teacher Nicole. She always says that good design should look back at history, be grounded in the present, and look forward to the future. As I walked through the exhibition hall, I noticed a special display case in the corner, containing only one piece, a seemingly simple ring with a small red gemstone set in the center. This is. I leaned in to read the label, which said, in memory, dedicated to teacher Mary. Yes, I made it from a small piece of blood amber I bought with my own savings, Nicole explained. It can't compare to the quality of yours, but it's also from Myanmar. I examined the design of the ring closely. Clean, powerful lines with fine silver threads encircling the blood amber, as if protecting the central gem, yet also seeming to radiate light outward. This is very similar to Mary's final design style, I said softly, but it also has your own unique touch. I wanted to create a piece that could both commemorate teacher Nicole and showcase my own style, Nicole explained. The blood amber represents her influence, while the outer design is the direction of my own development. The exhibition attracted quite a few industry insiders, including some well-known figures from the jewelry design world. After viewing the exhibition, an older female designer approached Nicole and offered her an internship opportunity. I stood by, genuinely happy for Nicole. In the evening, as the exhibition was drawing to a close, Frank arrived as well. Seeing me with Nicole, he gave me a knowing smile. New friend? He asked me quietly. Mary's student, I explained simply. Very talented. Frank nodded without asking further questions. After touring the exhibition, he gave high praise to Nicole's work. It blends traditional and modern elements, demonstrating both technical skill and artistic expression, quite rare. Nicole thanked him politely. This wouldn't have been possible without the guidance of teacher Nicole and teacher George. After the exhibition, the 3 of us went to a nearby restaurant for dinner. During the meal, Frank talked about recent trends in the art market, while Nicole shared her insights on contemporary jewelry design. The conversation was light and pleasant, and I realized it had been a long time since I had relaxed and chatted with others like this. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank received an urgent call and left early. Only Nicole and I remained in the restaurant, and the atmosphere suddenly became a bit quiet. Mr. George, Nicole hesitated for a moment before speaking. I've always had a question I wanted to ask you. What is it? After you finished the pursuit, what are you planning to create next? The question caught me off guard. To be honest, ever since the pursuit, I haven't had any new inspiration. That painting seemed to have drained all my emotions and creativity. I haven't decided yet, I answered honestly. It might take some time to find a new direction. Nicole nodded thoughtfully. Nicole once said that the hardest thing for an artist isn't creating a stunning masterpiece, but finding a way forward after reaching the peak. She really did say that, I recalled with a smile. Mary always saw further than I did. Maybe, Nicole said softly, you could try a new direction that combines your work with jewelry design? Like in The Pursuit, but taking it even further. I recalled what Mary mentioned in her letter about seeing new possibilities, and suddenly I was inspired. You mean, creating a series of works that combine painting and jewelry? Exactly. Nicole said excitedly, your paintings create emotion in two-dimensional space, while jewelry gives it tangible form in the three-dimensional world. The combination of the two would have an astonishing effect. The more we talked, the more engaged we became, even sketching a few concept designs on the restaurant's napkins. Nicole's ideas were fresh and bold, perfectly aligning with my artistic vision, yet bringing a new perspective. As we left the restaurant, Nicole suddenly said, I have to confess something. I looked at her in confusion. I reached out to you not only to deliver Nicole's letter, but also for a personal reason. I hope to learn from you, she said candidly. I want to become a designer like Nicole, someone who not only creates beautiful works but also perfectly blends art with emotion. Her sincerity moved me. You're already on that path, and you're doing very well. Then, may I consult you often? She asked a little nervously. Of course, I'd be delighted. On the way home, a series of new works already began to take shape in my mind. A cross-disciplinary art that fuses painting and jewelry, both as a tribute to Mary and as a new starting point in my artistic career. That night, I had a dream. In the dream, Mary stood in a halo of blood-red light, smiling at me and saying, see, I knew you would find a new direction. When I woke up, I got out of bed immediately and began sketching for the new series. I decided to name it Rebirth. Not only representing the ancient life forever preserved in blood amber, but also symbolizing the rebirth of my artistic career, as well as the inheritance and development of Mary's artistic vision. A week later, I submitted a new series proposal to the gallery and received an enthusiastic response. The curator even suggested holding a special exhibition themed Between Dimensions, a dialogue between painting and jewelry. For this project, I invited Nicole to join the team as a jewelry design consultant. She had just graduated from design school and was both excited and nervous about the opportunity. Am I really up to the task? She asked me in the studio. You understand Mary's design philosophy better than anyone, I assured her. That's exactly what I need. In the days that followed, we worked at a feverish pace. We created during the day and discussed at night, sometimes even working through until dawn. Nicole's ideas flowed endlessly, and I transformed those thoughts into concrete artistic expressions. In the process, I rediscovered the pure joy of creation that I hadn't felt in a long time. One late night, when we finally finished the design for our first piece, Nicole clapped her hands excitedly. This is amazing. Teacher Nicole will definitely love it. At the mention of Mary, she suddenly realized her slip and looked at me nervously. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. It's all right, I said with a smile. I think Mary really would like it. She always hoped I could step out of my comfort zone and try new ways of expressing myself. Nicole let out a sigh of relief, then hesitantly asked, Professor George, may I ask you a personal question? What is it? When you faced the woman impersonating Professor Nicole, how did you see through her? I mean, from the news reports, she seemed like an exact copy of Professor Nicole. I pondered for a moment. Superficial resemblance is easy to achieve, but a true personality cannot be duplicated. Mary's perception of art, her attitude toward life, the way she handled details, these were all unique. Just like a work of art, Nicole mused, no matter how perfect a replica is, it can never capture the soul of the original. Exactly. We worked through the night again, and finally established the overall framework for the Rebirth series. 7 pieces, each blending elements of painting and jewelry, together telling a story of loss and recovery, death and rebirth. As our collaboration deepened, My relationship with Nicole gradually shifted from teacher and student to partners, both mentor and friend. Sometimes, when the light traced the gentle contours of her focused profile, I would unconsciously think of Mary. But soon, I realized that this association wasn't due to any physical resemblance, but rather that same dedication and passion for art. "George, you look much more spirited lately," Frank remarked at a gathering. "It's been a while since I've seen you so full of life." "Yeah, the new project has helped me rediscover the joy of creating." "Nicole's a good girl," Frank said meaningfully. "Talented, and she really understands you." I understood his implication, but just smiled without responding. There was indeed a special understanding between Nicole and me, but it was more rooted in our shared passion for art than anything else. At least for now. The creation of the Rebirth series took 3 months, longer than expected, but the results were stunning. Each piece was a perfect fusion of painting and jewelry art, offering both the pleasure of viewing as a flat image and the discovery of three-dimensional effects brought by the jewelry elements from different angles. A week before the exhibition opened, I received an unexpected visitor, Luna. She had served her sentence and was released early. She looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but her eyes were clearer. "I came to apologize to you in person." She stood at the studio door, her voice low, "for everything I have done." I didn't respond immediately, but simply invited her in to sit down. "I know that an apology can't make up for the loss," she continued, "but I want you to know that I truly regret it." "How is your sister's illness?" I asked. She looked up in surprise. You know. I guessed. "You said you needed money for a reason, and I think that must have been true." "Yes," she nodded. "My sister's surgery was a success, and now she's fully recovered. For the past 3 years, I've been thinking about how to make up for my mistakes, even though I may never be able to." I was silent for a moment, then said, "You know, in a way, your appearance actually helped me." "What do you mean?" "It forced me to confront the past, to re-examine my memories with Mary, and ultimately to find a way forward." I pointed to the sketches of the Rebirth series on the wall and briefly explained this new project. Luna listened quietly, a look of genuine respect in her eyes. "I'm glad you were able to find a new beginning from that nightmare," she said at last. "I hope I can find my own path to rebirth as well." As she left, she handed me a small package. "These are some simple pieces of jewelry I made in prison. The craftsmanship is rough, but each one represents my remorse and blessings. I hope you can accept them." Opening the package, I found several small trinkets handmade from fine wire and colorful glass beads. Though simple, it was clear the creator had poured their heart into them. Nicole happened to come into the studio at that moment. Seeing the trinkets, she asked curiously, "What are these?" I told her about Luna's visit. "You forgave her?" Nicole was a bit surprised. "Not exactly forgiveness," I said thoughtfully. "It's more like understanding. Everyone has their own hardships and choices. What's important is how we learn and grow from our mistakes." Nicole nodded pensively, picking up a piece of jewelry to examine it closely. "The craftsmanship is rough, but the concept is ingenious. This person seems to have a talent for design." "Perhaps," I said. "Everyone has the possibility of being reborn." On the day of the exhibition opening, numerous figures from the art and jewelry worlds gathered together. The Rebirth series received unprecedented acclaim. Critics called it a model of cross-disciplinary art, and the gallery owner was overjoyed, announcing plans for a nationwide tour. In the crowd, I saw Luna. She was dressed simply, standing quietly in a corner, admiring the exhibits. Our eyes met in the air. She nodded slightly, then walked away. "Who was that?" Nicole asked, standing beside me. "Someone searching for rebirth," I replied. Nicole seemed to understand and asked no more. We stood side by side before the pursuit, watching the blood amber refract a strange light under the lamps, like the silent burning of life's flame. "Thank you," I whispered to Nicole. "Without you, this series might never have come into being." "It was your philosophy that guided us, teacher Nicole," she replied modestly. "I was just fortunate enough to be the messenger." In that moment, I suddenly understood the true meaning of what Mary had written in her letter. Love has changed its form. Love exists not only in memory and longing, but also in inheritance and innovation, shining brightly in every spark of artistic creation. And I, at last, had learned how to begin anew after loss, to embrace rebirth while still searching. The success of the exhibition exceeded everyone's expectations. In just 1 month, the Rebirth series was reported on by major media outlets and even attracted the attention of the international art world. A renowned auction house extended an olive branch to me, hoping to include several pieces in their annual highlight auction. "This is an unprecedented opportunity," Frank said excitedly. "If the deal goes through, you'll become a top player in the contemporary art market." I wasn't particularly concerned with commercial success, but I did feel the joy of having my work widely recognized. More importantly, this series opened up a new artistic path for me, freeing me from the creative shackles of the past 3 years. Nicole benefited as well. As the project's jewelry design consultant, she received high praise from the industry. Several well-known jewelry brands reached out to her, hoping she would join their design teams. "Which offer are you planning to accept?" One night, as we were tidying up the studio together, I asked her. "To be honest, I'm still hesitating." Nicole paused her work. "These are all great opportunities, but what? But I want to keep working with you." She looked straight into my eyes. "Rebirth is just the beginning, isn't it?" Her candor surprised me a little. Indeed, the success of this series had opened up many new creative possibilities for us, but I wasn't sure if I should continue such a close working relationship. "You should consider your own career development," I said tactfully. "These opportunities are very rare for young designers." Nicole seemed to sense my hesitation and nodded gently. "I understand." In the days that followed, we were both busy and rarely had the chance to talk alone. A week later, Nicole told me she had decided to accept an invitation from a French jewelry brand and would be going to Paris to work for 2 years. "Congratulations," I said sincerely. "It's a very good choice." "Thank you," she replied with a smile, though a fleeting, elusive emotion flashed in her eyes. "I think this is the best arrangement for both of us." Before Nicole left, we held a small farewell party. Frank, the curator, and a few mutual friends came. The atmosphere was warm, tinged with a hint of sadness. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank found an opportunity to pull me aside. "Are you really going to just let her go like this?" "What do you mean?" I pretended not to understand. "Don't play dumb, man," Frank said bluntly. "You have feelings for her. That's obvious." "That's just professional rapport," I argued. "Is that so?" Frank looked at me meaningfully. "Then why have you been so distracted ever since she decided to go to France?" I was at a loss for words. In fact, these past few days I had indeed felt an inexplicable sense of loss, but I kept telling myself it was only because I had lost an excellent partner. "I know what you're worried about." Frank lowered his voice. "You feel like you're letting Mary down, don't you?" I remained silent. He had touched upon the deepest concern in my heart. "Mary has been gone for 3 years now." Frank gently patted my shoulder. "She would want you to be happy." After the party ended, I walked Nicole home. The night was tranquil as water, and the city lights flowed around us. "Thank you for your help and guidance these past few months." Nicole stopped at the entrance of her apartment building. "This experience has meant so much to me." "I should be thanking you," I said sincerely. "Without you, the Rebirth series would never have been completed." We fell into silence, as if both searching for the right words to say goodbye. "My flight is the morning after tomorrow," Nicole finally said. "I still have some things to take care of tomorrow. So, this is probably the last time we'll see each other." 2 years will pass quickly. I tried to make my voice sound light. "Paris is a beautiful city. You'll like it there." She nodded, a complex emotion flickering in her eyes. "Professor George, there's something I've always wanted to tell you, but never found the right opportunity." "What is it?" "I chose to study jewelry design because I saw Nicole's works." She took a deep breath, or more precisely, because I saw the pieces Nicole designed for you. The way she perfectly fused love and art moved me deeply. "I didn't know that," I said in surprise. "I've always hoped that one day I could be like Nicole, creating art filled with emotion." Nicole continued, her words coming faster, as if afraid she might lose her courage. "But now I realize that what I want even more is to create for a specific person, just like Nicole created for you." I understood her implication, and my heart suddenly began to race. "Nicole, please don't respond," she gently interrupted me. "I just wanted you to know before I leave. No matter how you feel right now, remember that starting over is not a betrayal of the past, but a way of cherishing life." With that, she rose up on her tiptoes and softly kissed my cheek, then quickly turned and walked into the apartment building, leaving me standing alone in the night, my mind in turmoil. After returning home, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep, replaying Nicole's words and that gentle kiss over and over in my mind. Suddenly, I remembered a small box in the study where Mary's last complete letter was kept, a letter I had found while sorting through her belongings. But at the time, overwhelmed by grief, I never had the courage to open. Now, I finally mustered the courage to walk into the study and retrieve that delicate little box from the depths of the drawer. Inside lay a pale pink letter, bearing Mary's familiar handwriting. Dearest George, by the time you read this letter, you may find yourself at a crossroads in life, hesitating between moving forward or staying where you are. My greatest wish is that you can move bravely through life, as freely as your brush glides across the canvas. Love is not a shackle, but a liberation. Memory is not a burden, but a source of strength. If one day you meet someone who can rekindle the light in your eyes, please don't hesitate because of your longing for me. True love is wishing happiness for the other, even if there is no longer a place for oneself in that happiness. Remember, the days we loved each other were complete, with no need for regrets. And now, it's time to paint a new picture, my beloved. Forever loving you. Mary. Tears blurred my vision. It was as if Mary had foreseen my current situation and had already given me her blessing. She was always like this, always able to see further and more clearly than I could. At that moment, I made up my mind. Early the next morning, I drove straight to Nicole's apartment. Professor George? Nicole opened the door in surprise, clearly not expecting me. I have something to say to you. I looked her straight in the eyes, not as your teacher, but as George. I handed her Mary's letter. Nicole read it carefully, her expression shifting from surprise to being moved, and finally, her eyes grew moist. She truly was an extraordinary woman, Nicole said softly, handing the letter back to me. Yes, she was. I nodded. That's exactly why I believe her words. Nicole, cancel your plans for Paris. Stay and continue our collaboration, will you? Nicole looked at me in shock. Are you serious? I've never been more serious, I said quietly. Rebirth is not just the name of an artwork, it's a possibility in life. Are you willing to explore that possibility with me? Her answer was a firm embrace, warm and real, like the first ray of sunlight after a long winter. In that moment, I felt as if Mary was somewhere, smiling down on us, blessing this new beginning. Life is like that blood amber, enduring countless ages of change and sedimentation, ultimately transforming into an eternal radiance. And I, at last, understood what true pursuit is, what true rebirth means. A year later, Nicole and I unveiled our second joint project, Interwoven, at the National Art Museum. This series was even bolder and more innovative than Rebirth, blending Eastern and Western aesthetics with various art forms. Critics hailed it as a significant breakthrough in contemporary art. At the opening ceremony, Nicole held my arm as we faced the media interviews and congratulations from the audience together. She wore a simple white dress, and around her neck was the Eye of Rebirth necklace we designed together. She completed the jewelry part based on my painting. Your collaboration seems even more in sync than your last project, a reporter asked with a suggestive smile. Nicole glanced at me, and we exchanged a smile. Yes, both in art and in life, we found the perfect balance. This indirect answer drew a round of good-natured laughter from the reporters present. My relationship with Nicole was no longer a secret, but we always kept a low profile, letting the public's attention remain focused on our artistic creations. After the exhibition, we drove out to a small hill in the countryside. There stood an ancient oak tree, beneath which Mary's ashes were laid to rest. This was the place we chose, rather than a traditional cemetery, natural, peaceful, just like Mary herself. Mary, the exhibition was a great success today, I said softly to the stone beneath the tree. Nicole's designs were admired by everyone, just as you once predicted. Nicole crouched down and placed a bouquet of white daisies in front of the stone. Teacher Nicole, I've been working hard to become the kind of designer you hoped I would be. I hope you can be proud of me. A gentle breeze stirred, and the oak's leaves rustled softly, as if it were Mary's reply. On the way back, Nicole suddenly said, I've been thinking about something. What is it? If that woman who pretended to be Ms. Nicole hadn't appeared, you might never have found the blood amber, never created the pursuit, and we might never have met. Her words made me fall into deep thought. Indeed, it was the series of events triggered by that deception that ultimately led to everything now. It feels as if, in the unseen, some force has been orchestrating it all. Perhaps that's the irony of fate, I said softly. Sometimes, the worst beginnings can lead us to the best endings. When I returned home, I received an unexpected package. Upon opening it, I found a delicate little box containing a handmade ring. Though simple, the craftsmanship had improved greatly compared to the pieces I had seen before. There was a note attached. Mr. George, thank you for your kindness and understanding a year ago, which gave me the courage to start over. Now I have found a job at a small jewelry shop, and my life is gradually getting back on track. This ring represents my gratitude, and I wish you happiness and well-being on your new path. Luna, I handed the ring to Nicole. After examining it carefully, she remarked, her skills have improved a lot. She truly is talent. Some mistakes in life shouldn't become permanent scars, I sighed. Everyone deserves a second chance. That night, we sat in the studio, discussing ideas for the next series. Nicole suddenly proposed a bold idea. I was thinking, maybe we could try connecting the different stages of our work to create a complete narrative. From eternity to quest, then to rebirth, and intertwined, they're actually different phases in a person's life journey. You mean? A complete story about loss, searching, rebirth, and integration, she explained excitedly, ultimately asking what is the most precious treasure in life. Love. I finished her sentence, no matter what form it takes. Nicole nodded, her eyes sparkling with creative fire. We could call it the forms of love, an unprecedented artistic exploration. Sounds like a long-term, ambitious project. We have time, she smiled, holding my hand. We have so much time. In that moment, I felt a powerful surge of creative inspiration, just like when I first began my artistic career years ago, filled with passion and possibility. But this time, I was not facing the blank canvas alone. 2 years later, the Forms of Love series was exhibited simultaneously in the world's 5 greatest art museums, causing an unprecedented sensation. Critics called it a milestone in contemporary art history, blending painting, sculpture, jewelry design, and other art forms to create an entirely new artistic language. The final piece of the exhibition was titled Eternal Ring, a massive circular canvas depicting every form of love in life, familial, platonic, romantic, and the love for art itself. The edge of the canvas was inlaid with gemstones of various sizes, and under certain lighting, these gems would cast light onto specific parts of the canvas, revealing another hidden layer of patterns. The centerpiece of this work is a massive blood amber. Through intricate optical design, the light it projects perfectly outlines 2 embracing figures. One is Mary, the other is Nicole, symbolizing the intersection of past and present, the fusion of memory and rebirth. On the closing day of the exhibition, in front of the Eternal Ring, I knelt on one knee and proposed to Nicole. The ring was crafted from the very blood amber Mary had once prepared for me, designed by my own hand and fashioned by the finest jeweler. This ring carries the memories of the past and the hopes for the future, I whispered softly. Nicole, will you be the eternal ring in my life? Her tears sparkled under the spotlight. I will. Amidst the cheers, I remembered what Mary once said, love does not disappear, it merely changes its form. Yes, love does not disappear. It exists in memories, in art, in every rebirth and new beginning. It traverses time and crosses space, like that blood amber which, after millions of years, still shines, forever retaining the original warmth and brilliance of life. This is the answer I have been searching for all along. Between loss and gain, between seeking and rebirth, love remains constant, only appearing in different forms along the journey of life. And all we need to do is bravely accept this gift, no matter how it comes to us. On the day of the wedding, the sky was a clear, washed blue. Beneath the ancient oak tree that had watched over Mary, we exchanged our vows. A gentle breeze stirred, making the leaves whisper as if blessings were drifting in from another world. No matter when or where, Nicole said softly, we'll always remember that it was she who brought us together. Yes, I squeezed her hand, and we will always cherish this gift. In the brilliant sunlight, the blood amber ring gleamed, radiant as life itself, enduring the passage of time, yet still shining bright.